Good morning, students. So, our today's objective is taking into consideration the Cognizant written exam that was conducted this year, that is Cognizant written test 2021 for the upcoming batch. Now, if I talk about the paper of Cognizant, what are the different sections that come up? So, there are five sections in Cognizant written test. Out of that, two of them are purely for coding. You have a automata fix and a MCQ pattern where they'll ask you questions based on programming languages. Next three sections, if we talk about, those are regarding quants, logicals, and verbals. Quants, if I talk about, that is quantitative analysis. You'll be having questions based on time and work, time, speed, and distance. Then there will be questions based on probability, permutations, combinations, and all those things. If I talk about verbals, there will be questions based on reading comprehension, synonyms, antonyms, and all those things. Next, if we talk about the next portion involved, next portion would be for reasoning. And if we talk about reasoning, there'll be topics like blood relation, data arrangements, and accordingly different sections. Okay. Now, difficulty level analysis is, it is somewhere between easy to moderate. The paper is not very difficult. There are some questions that will be involving some logics, but it is not difficult at all and very manageable to solve within 40 to 50 minutes. Today's objective, as I told you, will be looking at the questions that have been asked. So we are going to look at some of the questions actually asked in the paper. The first question is, in an arithmetic progression, there are six terms. And this is from set B of the paper that had come up. So exam was conducted actually in sets. There was set A, B, and C. We're going to go for the set A first. In an arithmetic progression, there are six terms and their sum is 3. The first term is 4 times the third term. The fifth term in the progression is, and we have to find out the fifth term. Okay, I know. General format of an AP. If I look at the first term, it is A. If I do the common difference, it is D. Six terms, if I need to consider, I will take them as A minus 5D, A minus 3D, A minus D, A plus D, A plus 3D, and A plus 5D. These are the six terms that would be considered. If I talk about six terms, they are in an AP. Now, first thing given to me, their sum is 3. One thing that we need to observe, as many negative terms are there, the similar and equal and opposite positive term is also given to us. Okay, so if I do the sum, all these negatives, positives will get cancelled out. What remains is 6a is equals to 3. Value of a, that is my first term, comes out to be 1 by 2. Next hint. First term is 4 times the third term. First term, a minus 5d. Okay, all these terms are respective. That is, fourth term is this, fifth term is this, sixth term is this. Okay, so my first term a minus 5d is equals to 4 times the third term is a minus d. When you use this, put the value of a is equals to 4 into 1 by 2 minus d. On solving this, value of d comes out to be minus 3 by 2. Okay, a is there, d is there. Fifth term is a plus 3d. A plus 3 into d. Value comes out to be minus 4. Very simple question. Answer is C, minus 4. Next question. What is the remainder when 2 into 8 factorial minus 21 into 6 factorial divides 14 into 7 factorial plus 14 into 13 factorial? Okay, so we are going to go for first, what is the dividend, how to operate for the dividend. Okay, so 2 into 8 factorial minus 21 into 6 factorial given to us. I'm going to split it in this way. I'm going to do a little splitting. So 2 into 8 factorial, 2 into 8 into 7 factorial, I'm going to write it now. 21, I'm going to write as 3 into 7 into 6 factorial. 7 factorial, 7 into 6 is 7 factorial. So this becomes 16 into 7 factorial minus 3 into 7 factorial. My dividend actually reduces to 13 into 7 factorial. Now, as per the question, it is given to me 14 into 7 factorial plus 14 into 13 factorial is divided by 13 into 7 factorial. Now, I'm going to separate it and I need the remainder. So, remainder when 14 into 7 factorial is divided by 13 into 7 factorial plus 14 into 13 factorial is divided by 13 into 7 factorial. This is what is needed. Okay. Now, if I talk about the second term, the remainder of 14 into 7 factorial divided by 13 into 7 factorial, I cannot directly cancel out any terms and say that the remainder is 1. That cannot be done. So what we are going to do is we are going to first, if I look at this term 14 into 13 factorial divided by 13 into 7 factorial, this can be split as 14 into 13 into 12 into 11 into 10 into 9 into 8 into 7 factorial. Okay, nice. Now divided by 13 into 7 factorial. Here, my remainder is going to be 0. So this term is going to yield a remainder as 0. But here, I cannot cancel out 7 factorial and 7 factorial. I'll have to split 14 into 7 factorial divided by 13 into 7 factorial as 13 plus 1 into 7 factorial divided by 13 into 7 factorial. Now, this becomes 13 into 7 factorial plus 7 factorial divided by 13 into 7 factorial and 13 into 7 factorial. Okay, so my remainder finally from this term it is 0, but I am getting a remainder as 7 factorial. 7 factorial is what finally remains because 7 factorial, if I divide by 13 into 7 factorial, I cannot cancel out and write it as 1. These 7 factorial, again, it creates the same issue. I cannot cancel out both of them. So, this will give me a quotient as 0 and my whole remainder comes out to be 7 factorial. My answer is D, 7 factorial. Next question. Let's look at the next question very quickly. There is a set of 32 distinct points on a plane with the following characteristics. Some instruction is given to us. There is a subset A consisting of 10 collinear points. Okay, collinear means all of them are in the same plane. Any subset of 3 or more collinear points from 32 are a subset of A. Okay, how many distinct triangles with positive area can be formed with each of its vertices being one of the 32 points? Okay, now a triangle can be formed by taking, okay, if 10 are in A, that means remaining are 22 points. 10 are in A and 22 are the remaining points that we have. So a triangle can be formed by taking 1 from 10 and 2 from 22. This is my first case that can follow up. And for forming a triangle, it is very important. These 10, these are collinear points. So for forming a triangle, I need to have at least one point that is not collinear, at least one point that should not be collinear. So that should be the case. So this 10 are collinear, so at least one point should be out of these 10 points. So first case I can do, I can take 1 point from them and 2 from the 22 these remaining points. Second case we can do, I can take 2 from these 10 and 1 from the 22 points that are available. Okay. Third case, it is not given hard and fast that one, it has to be always one from these 10 collinear points. I can take all the 3 from 22. I can take out my points in this way. Okay. Now, either this is forming a triangle or this is forming a triangle or this is forming a triangle. In PNC, whenever there is or, I do addition. So number of ways. 1 from 10, it becomes 10C1. And see, whenever it is and, I do multiplication. And is always multiplication into 22C2. Next, 2 from 10, 10C2 into 22C1. Next, 3 from 22, 22C3. Now, adding all of these, when I will find out the value of 10C1 into 22C2 and 10C2 into 22C1 and 22C3, when I'll find out all these values, when I will add it, I'll get the answer as 4840. My answer is option D, 4840. Very simple. The only set of rules that we had to do was, if I'm forming a triangle, one of them had to be a point which is not the collinear point. Okay, next question. An aeroplane has 4 emergency exits. In an emergency, it requires 8 seconds per passenger to evacuate the plane. if the hand baggage is not carried by the passenger. Okay, how long will it take to evacuate 53 passengers in an emergency? Okay, so in an emergency situation, we should require that the plane should be taken out in minimum time. The plane should be emptied in minimum time. That is what the possibility is. So to minimize the time, equal number of people, condition for minimizing, I'm telling, equal number of people will cross the gate in same time. So equal number of people need to cross the gate in same time. That is what it has to be, and all of them have to go out at the same time. So it is given that there are four gates. The closest multiple of 4, that is there close to 52, it is 53, it is 52. So nearest multiple of 4 to 52, 53, it is 52. So 53 is actually 4 into 13 plus 1. It means that from the 4 gates, 13 people will go out. They all will cross at the same time, and there will be one extra member to cross the gate. So total time taken would be 13 into 8, because all 13 are going to cross at the same time, plus this 8 seconds for one extra member, comes out to be 112 seconds. That is 1 minute and 52 seconds. My answer is 1 minute 52 seconds, option A. Next question, if we talk about next question. So two cylinders are covered with paper on the curved surface. The top and the bottom of the cylinders are left exposed. Okay. If the length of the paper just covers the surface area of the cylinder after cutting them if necessary, what is the sum of the volumes of the two cylinders in cc? Heights are given, areas are given, everything is given to us. Okay. Surface area of the cylinder, it's 2 pi rh. Okay, for cylinder 1, if we talk about 2 pi r1 h1, it is equal to 10 into 8. All the values are given to us already. So r1 comes out to be 8 upon 2 pi. Okay, for second cylinder, if we talk about 2 pi r2 h2 is equals to 10 into 4. So r2 comes out to be 5 upon 3 pi. Values given already in the question. What are the values? Volume of the cylinder, volume, it's pi. First cylinder, if we talk about volume of the first cylinder, it's pi r square h1, pi r1 square h1 square, that is pi into 8 upon 2 pi the whole square into 10, becomes 640 upon 4 pi. Okay, second cylinder, if we talk about volume of the second cylinder, it becomes pi into 5 upon 3 pi the whole square into 10. Solving gives the value as 300 upon 9 pi. Okay, now what is the sum of the areas? On adding both of them, we need to add 640 upon 4 pi plus 300 divided by 9 pi. When we will add both of them up to two places after decimal, answer is 61.54 centimeter cube, option C. Okay, next question. Length, breadth, height of a room are mentioned there in the ratio 3 is to 2 is to 1. If the breadth and height are halved, as per the question that is given here, length, breadth, and height of room are in the ratio 3 is to 2 is to 1. If the length, breadth, and if the length is doubled, breadth and height are half, then the total volume of the room will, and we have to find the relations. What will happen? Okay, so length, breadth, and height, let's take them as 3, 2, and 1 units only. Okay, volume becomes 6 units. Unit cube. Okay, so I'm just taking the ratio, whatever the ratio is, that only as the length, breadth, and height, so that it becomes easy for calculation. Now length, breadth, and height, whatever the condition is given to them, accordingly, if we take the new length, new breadth, and new height, they become 6, 1, and 1 by 2. Okay, now volume, new volume becomes 6 into 1 into 1 by 2, that is 3 unit square, unit cube. So with respect to the first, the volume has now decreased and it has become half. So volume of the room decreases by 50%. My answer is option D. Okay, next question. What will be the remainder of the given expression? Remainder of the given expression is what we need to find out. Okay, so it's 34 raised to power 31 raised to power 301. What will be the remainder in that particular case? All right. So what we can do here is, so when we look at the number is 34 raised to power 31 raised to power 301, what is going to be the remainder of the expression when it is divided by 9? Now, I do not know the power cycle. The concept that is going to be used here is of power cycle. I do not know the power cycle for 34. What we are going to do here is, I can divide 34 by 9 and here I'm getting the remainder as 7. With respect to 7, I can consider the whole cycle. So this becomes 7 raised to power 31 and a raised to power b becomes 31 into 301. Okay, now the best thing about 7 raised to power something is 7 has a cyclicity of 4. That is, powers of 7 they keep repeating after a particular interval. So 7 power 1 and I need to divide it by 9. Okay, so 7 power 1 it's 7. 7 square it's 49. Unit place is 9. 7 cube. Okay, so all that way we can go. 7 cube becomes 9 into 7, unit place will again be 3. 7 power 4, it's 3 into 7, I'm just concerned with the unit place, it becomes 1. 7 power 5, again I'm going to get 7 as my unit place. So cyclicity of 7 comes out to be 4. Okay, now what we're going to do is 7 power 1, when I divide by 7, 7 power 1 when I divide by 9, it leaves a remainder of 7. 7 power 2 when I divide by 9, it leaves a remainder of 4. But that's 49 divided by 9. It's remainder 4. 7 power 3 when divided by 9, it leaves a remainder 1. After that, the cycle goes on continuing. So it's actually, if I look at the remainder cycle for 9, the remainder cycle is 7, 4, 1 and it goes out. Number given to us is 7 raised to power 31 into 301. So remainder cycle, it is of the format of whether it is 7 raised to power 3k plus 1 or 7 raised to power 3k plus 2. Is it something of that sort? We need to find out. So remainder here, number the what we have, it is of the format of 7 raised to power 3k plus 1. How you do it? You do the multiplication, you try to separate it in groups of 3 plus something. If it is obtained, then well and good. So finally it becomes 7 raised to power 3k plus 1. Now 7 raised to power 3k plus 1, these 3k's we're not concerned with, we're concerned with the number that is remaining number is 7. 7 divided by 9, I know remainder is 7. In that particular case, my answer is option B, that is 7. Okay, next question. Two dice are thrown. Find the probability of getting a multiple of 3 or 5 as the sum. Okay, two dice are rolled. So event A, let A be the event of getting a multiple of 3 as sum, as sum, and B be the getting probability of getting multiple of 5 as sum. I have assumed two events, event A and event B. Now, what are the values that are going to come up in A? A can be 1 by 2, 1 2, 1 5, 2 1, 2 4. It can be 3 3. It can be 4 2, 4 5, 5 1. 5 4, 6 3, and 6 6. These are the cases that are possible. Total number of possible cases is 12. If I talk about B, what can be B? B is, the sum has to be a multiple of 5, so it becomes 1 4, 2 3, 3 2, 4 1, 4 6, 5 5, and 6 4. These are the cases where B is going to be a multiple. Okay. Number of events of B, it's 7. Okay. Now, probability, it's either a multiple of 3 or a multiple of 7. So, number of events of A is 12, number of events of B is 7. Total number of cases when two dice are rolled together, it's 36. Probability of either getting this or getting this. Probability of getting A, that is the sum is 3. It becomes 12 by 36. Probability that the sum obtained is a multiple of 5 becomes 7 by 36. Total probability, it's multiple, the sum is either a multiple of 3 or 5. That means it will be 12 by 36 plus 7 by 36 becomes 19 by 36. My answer is option A. So just separating the two cases and finding individual probability, adding it and getting the answer. Next question. How many six-digit numbers can be formed from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so that the digits should not repeat and the second digit is even? Okay, two conditions. It has to be an even number plus second last digit is also even and no repetition. One thing with permutations and combinations is I cannot take repetitions as and when I like. Unless it is mentioned in the question, I will not be taking any repetition. Okay, number of possible cases, we can go by that. So what we have to do is a six digit number we need to find. Okay, now last place is even. That means out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, last place can be filled in three ways. I'm going talking about the even, the ones place. It can be filled in 2, 3, or 6. Only these can come up. It can be filled in three ways. Okay, one of them is obviously going to be used here. If one of them gets used, second last place is also even needed. So if one of them get used here, only options remaining to me are two. So this place, 10th space can be filled in two ways. Okay, now out of seven numbers given to me, two are already used. Remaining, if I talk about the first place, the sixth place, the MSB, now we'll start filling from MSB. This place can be filled in five ways. Next, 4, 3, 2, this place is 2 and this place is 3. All of them together are going to form a six digit number. My answer becomes 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 2 into 3. On multiplying, it comes out to be 720. So, in total, 720 ways or 726 digit even numbers can be formed out of the given set of numbers that I have. My answer is option D. Okay, next question. Out of a group of students, 49 by 5 times the square root of the total number are playing cricket. Remaining two are idle. Find the total number of students. Okay. Let the number of students be x. Those who are playing cricket, 49 by 5x. Okay. 49 by 5 times of root x because mentioned square root of the total number. Okay. Remaining students is 2. Now, total number of students in the class, x is equals to 49 by 5 into root x plus 2. Now, what we need to do is form a quadratic. So, 5x is equals to 49 root x plus 2x. This becomes 3x is equals to 49 root x. This becomes 10. So, the final equation becomes 5x minus 10 is equals to 49 root x. Square both the sides. On squaring both the sides, we'll get a quadratic. And when we will solve that quadratic, let's see what the quadratic becomes. Quadratic is 5x minus 10 the whole square is equals to 49 square, that is 2401 into x. Okay, opening all of that, when we will start solving it, we'll get the value of x. One thing we can do after this is either go with respect to the options, directly put the value of x from the options, or solve for it. I would prefer going with respect to the options so that we can avoid solving all of this equation. Value of x would come out to be 100. That is number of students in the class, it's 100. My answer is option A.